Good morning, everybody, and welcome. And first and foremost, happy Memorial Day. Great to have all of you tuning in here on our global web coverage here from Lime Rock Park and the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Lime Rock, powered by M. Great to have you with us here. It is a day chock full of GT racing. We will have 2 races each for the Pirelli World Challenge GTS category in the Sprint X format, and we'll be repeating as we do 2 races in GT. I'm Greg Creamer along with Calvin Fish. Pilar Lastro will be helping cover all the action for us down on pit lane as we get the day underway. And this, of course, is a very, very special day indeed, being Memorial Day, as everybody, of course, honors and salutes the veterans that have played such a key role in keeping our country free, and we surely appreciate that. And we do have some opening ceremonies that will be coming your way in just a second, and then we will be underway with the basically the 5th round of the Pirelli World Challenge GTS Sprint X Championship. First season where Sprint X has a full classification, if you will, in the GTS category alone. They're not running as part of the GT Sprint X as they did last year. And it means there are 2 different championships now in GTS, the Sprint X and the Sprint, and then, of course, the overall combined. So it's absolutely been a fascinating year. We're looking forward to these races unfolding and coming at you in very short order, and can't wait for the day to unfold. It is going to be coming at you in a big hurry, and looking forward to having everything unfold. So with that, we're going to head down to the front of the grid as the pre-race ceremonies are about to unfold. Thanks again for joining us, everybody.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of track president Skip Barber, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Pirelli World Challenge Grand Prix of Lime Rock Park, powered by M. First of all, we would like to welcome the Eagle Squadron of the Civil Air Patrol from Stratford, Connecticut, as they present the colors of the United States of America. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Reverend Savage Fries, who will deliver today's invocation.
Let us pray. Loving God, we gather to celebrate amazing cars, drivers, and crews. But first, we lift in prayer those who, in service of their nation, have gone down to the sea in ships, taken to the air in planes, or tracked across the earth, fighting to make the world a better place, and who have not returned. Be with those who continue to serve, protecting our men and women in the armed services as they seek to protect their nation. May they do so with honor, dignity, and resolve. Lord, be with those who drive today. Shelter them beneath your protective wing and keep them safe. Bless the mechanics and pit crews, and may they take vigilant care of their cars and drivers. Bless the fans and spectators, granting them exciting races. May we each know your loving presence. May the cars be swift, the track be fast, the action thrilling, and the day be safe. Amen.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would ask you all to please to stand. It's my pleasure to introduce a longtime friend of the Lime Rock Park, Frank Pasquale, who will give us his rendition of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home
Absolutely beautiful rendition. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you so much, Reverend. And thank you so much to Greg Ricks, the Lime Rock Park longtime track announcer here. He's been providing the voice over the PA at this facility for a very long time. There are a few better, and we appreciate him stepping in and handling things for us down on the pre-grid for those special festivities. Anticipation definitely is starting to build here a little bit, Cal. You know, we saw these cars out on the track. They got a little practice in earlier in the weekend, had Sunday off, so it's just been building, hasn't it?
It has, and it's kind of a weird dynamic, Greg, to do your qualifying, your practice kind of 36 hours ago.
Exactly.
And you've had a whole day to sit on. A lot of the guys would have watched the races yesterday. Big Sunday of racing, obviously, with Monaco, Indy, and the Coca-Cola 600 last night. So, but now it's game time, and now it's show time, and you've got to be ready to go.
And it's interesting. We had, obviously, Saturday when they went out and did their qualifying. Very warm, very humid conditions. The track rained a fair bit yesterday. Today, cooler. It's going to be nice eventually up into the mid-70s, and we're anticipating a little sun, but definitely different conditions today.
Very different, and they really haven't experienced these conditions this week anyway. Certainly people have notebooks from years prior, but certainly it's a different racetrack. It'll dictate a slightly different setup. Tire pressures, starting pressures may be a little bit higher than you would have started in the heat on Saturday. So lots to play for, and be interesting to see how the lightweight cars versus the heavier cars like the Camaros were really struggling in the greasy conditions here on Saturday. Will they be more of a player here today?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an awful lot to unfold, and again, it's oftentimes the teams that have the best ability to react to change are the ones that have the best ability to find success, really, on a day like this. So after that long pause. So it is about that time. We're set the stage. We are going to get ready to send it back down to the front of the grid. As I said, Pilar Lastra back with us here. Pilar, take us to that special command.
Ladies and gentlemen, yes, it is time for that most famous words in the world of motorsports. Helping us out with that command today is Victor Lilu, Motorsports Manager, BMW.
Drivers, start your engines.
Absolutely fantastic, and as you can see from that shot, as these engines spring to life, it is a sizable field, and we'll be talking more about that in just a minute. But we are getting ready for the cars to roll off for 2 formation laps that we anticipate here. And again, first year that both races are full-on rolling starts in GTS as well. The beautiful BMW M4 CS pace car is on its way. Thanks to BMW for providing that. And now let's set up our Pirelli storylines. First one has to be a fast car on pole, but with a substitute driver.
Yeah, in the Pro-Am ranks, the number 55 car will line off 4th here on the grid. But it's Patrick Gallagher filling in for Scott Maxwell. We'll tell you more about Scott Maxwell's story a little bit later in the show. But a great run for that team. They came out the box strong, winning the opening round of the Sprint X Championship at COTA. But the car struggled at VIR in the heat of the day. These cooler conditions could help that model there.
And you had alluded to some struggles for some of the teams in the heat, points leaders among them.
Yeah, absolutely. The championship leaders right now, GMG Racing, the number 14 car. Alex Welch back in 16th position on the grid with his teammate James Fronis, who will take over at the halfway point of this race. And the Black Dog team right behind them, so they're mired middle of the pack there. A lot of work to do today.
Just could not find pace, so it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And while we talked about the 55 PF Racing Mustang being on the Pro-Am pole, Pilar Lastra, a big surprise on the overall pole.
Yeah, it's going to be a very exciting day for Team Marco Polo Motorsports. I talked to Nicola this morning, and he said he absolutely loves this track, and so does number 71 car. His car is quick and nimble, which is perfect for this track. The only question is, this is his very first time qualifying P1 on this series. Is he going to be able to withstand the pressure of leading the pack?
Well, that's a very good point. A rookie. He's certainly accomplished in Lotus Club events. He's a 2-time champion there, but they got some extra support in that paddock, don't they?
They do. Rider Engineering have one of their guys here helping out with the setup. But what a performance by Nikolai. I spoke to him this morning. He said, I'm excited, I am nervous, all of those things wrapped into here. this performance. What a qualifying run for that crossbow. It's always shown speed, is very strong around this racetrack. He's going to be going solo, so just to go back over the Sprint X regulations, Greg, in GTS, you can stay in the car, not do a driver change. There's no tire changes. That pit stop window opens at 25 minutes, it closes at 35, so you got to be on pit lane at the latest at the 35-minute mark, and then you'll see some of the guys trading places in terms of the driver's seat. Some guys just sitting there stationary, and it's a 62-second pit lane delta. You should be sitting still for about 45 seconds. It costs you 17 seconds to drive down pit lane. You can't be under that 62-second mark, otherwise you're going to get a penalty.
And even if you do nail it, absolutely, they're lapping in the mid-55, 56, 57 range. You're going to go down a lap. Your strategists have to be on their game. So, again, we have completed the first of the 2 formation laps. Green this time by, and as we said, these cars have not been on the track for a couple of days. I would say these 2 pace laps, just trying to figure out where the grip might be, is huge.
They do, and they essentially have to stop the tire warming around this part of the racetrack. You can see there, outside pole sitter just trying to get Drew Staveley there, just trying to get a little bit of heat in those rear tires. Tense moments right now, much cooler day. Does everyone have enough tire temperature into those Pirelli P0s? Who will be aggressive here at the start, trying to make some moves early? It is not easy to pass here on this bull ring of a racetrack.
The BMW M4 CS has made its escape. It is now up to young Nikolai Elgahanian, and he's going to bring him up 60 minutes of racing in the Sprint X format, down through the diving turn, onto the front straight. Round number 5 about to commence. Watch the starters stand. We are green.
3-4 wide in the middle of the pack there as Elgahanian takes the pole-sitting car down to the inside. Staveley tucks in behind him. Patrick Gallagher to the outside.
Elgahanian way wide, Cal.
Slipping and sliding there. Ken Staveley. Oh, there's a spin middle of the pack. That may have been one of the Camaros. It is. It's Andy Pilgrim. There's carnage behind him.
2 cars off. Another one. There's the 62 of Clennon. Make it 4 cars involved. 54 Mark Pavin and the 04 George Kurtz.
Staveley got by for the lead.
He did.
Managed to muscle his way back by there before they got to No Name straightaway. Elgahanian's car is just slipping and sliding right now as the 2 Black Dog Speed Shop Camaros make their way back onto the racetrack. Hopefully no damage.
Wow. You didn't think it could get much worse than where they qualified, and it did for both of the Black Dog cars. And Elgahanian just got in a little too hot into turn 1, it looked like.
Yeah, and it's a lightweight car, and now he's got the lead back, so he's made a move on Staveley as they now hit the front straightaway. And here comes up Mueller Motorsports Porsche with him. Krantz to the outside.
Boy, Rich Krantz in that car. Down to the inside now, Cal. He is a savvy race driver and sneaks through and picks up the lead.
Yeah, that crossbow's going to take a little bit longer to get those tires up to temperature in these cooler conditions here. Krantz takes advantage. Patrick Gallagher there. We talked about the Pro-Am pole sitter sitting in the 4th position.
Down No Name straight. And this class, GTS, runs the traditional layout, so they're dealing with that high-speed run up and over the rise and into West Bend.
Staveley protecting Gallagher on the prowl there. You see that gray PF Racing Mustang GT4 car has a lot of muscle, Greg.
It does. It's got some good grunt, and it gets a good run. And it does float good speed in the corners. It just takes a bit out of those Pirelli P0s to do it. And he's protecting right now. So you've got a pretty significant run coming from the BMW.
Mueller doing a great job there. They've been strong all weekend long. A little bit of a surprise here. Great performance. Throughout practice and qualifying, they've shown tremendous speed. Hedlund looks to the inside. The Flying Lizard Audi. He's another one of the drivers that will be doing this race solo. Rules allow that. If you're an AM driver, you can just stay in the car. Climb in that uphill. Oh, that was see the 74 car there. Shane Lewis. That team coming off a 2-podium run for he and Gar Robinson, separate cars in the sprint round for CTMP. They're finding the sweet spot on that setup.
He's been a bit of a revelation this year, Gar Robinson. We know he's quick, The Trans Am stuff, but look at this now. Buford down to the ins, or Gallagher down to the inside, trying to take the spot away from Staveley.
Staveley really deep on the brakes, though. That Ginetta really performs into that brake zone, so Gallagher got the car lined up to the inside, dropping wheels there as they come through Big Bend.
And that is strictly just a weight versus horsepower issue. And that Ginetta tends to be, they can run that car very, very light, and it works incredibly well. It tends to get faster as the race goes on relative to the other cars, oftentimes.
Algahanian is hanging in there, and that crossbow should start to come alive now, Greg. He showed the pace that he could put up with that car by grabbing the pole position here, and a big surprise in the qualifying session Saturday.
Look at what happened in turn 1 here. You can see Algahanian wide, but it's behind him when it all goes wrong.
Big stack up.
There was
Oh,
a
yeah,
touch.
I think Pavin got into the back of Pilgrim. There's a big stack up, a concertina effect in the middle of the pack, and I believe it was that black Sin that got into Andy Pilgrim.
Right now, the two leaders, Krantz in the
Well,
Mueller Porsche.
really loose. He's trying to really just increase his steering input and try and get a run alongside him, and nearly lost the back end of that car.
He hasn't really let this performance here, being in front of this big field, affect him too much. He's just going racing.
He's having fun.
Absolutely.
Mantella Autosport Crossbow here. They picked up during the off-season, picked up 2 of those cars. Hope to campaign both cars a little bit later in this championship year. Key for that team is going to be getting the pit stop strategy correct, because Algahanian, when they do the pit stop, there's going to be a driver change in the lead car and not in the 71. And that should allow him to be immediately in the rhythm when he hits the racetrack again versus a driver change. Could be an advantage.
We're getting a report, not a big surprise here, Cal. The 54 of Pavin is going to be getting a drive-through for incident responsibility in causing that spin. Good battle here.
And Travis down to the inside. He had a great day here on Saturday.
Ooh.
78 car off for a ride there. Ray Mason. It's after the downhill, so I wonder if he just dropped wheels, and if he dropped wheels in that downhill and that's all the damage or contact he had, that's a lucky break. We see some debris there in the uphill. That's probably going to cause a caution, Greg.
I would think
Someone
so.
just ticked that.
Yep.
That will cut down a tire if you're not careful.
And the other thing that the drivers have to deal with the rain yesterday, earlier in the week, if you ran wide, it was just dusty and dry. Now you run wide, that grass is slick. Oh, Gahanian right there. I think that Porsche's got just a little bit more in terms of leg, and if he can just get enough, which he did, almost 2 car lengths, cover it into turn 1.
Yeah, we've seen this Mueller Motorsports Porsche being very strong this season. Piana put in some great performances at St. Petersburg in the sprint rounds there to open our championship year. Right now, Krantz, a VLN, Nürburgring specialist, holding on in that Porsche.
If you're a Nürburgring specialist, I can only imagine how fast these laps come at you.
Yeah, it's amazing. What a race circuit that is. As you see that debris still there. All of the drivers should know it's there now, but it's amazing when you're in the thick of the battle, you sometimes forget you need to have your crews focused on. Remember the debris there in the uphill. That will cut a tire and ruin your day.
Always reminding or trying to. Oh, you got to run this time. Algahanian looks to the inside of the Mueller Motorsports USA Porsche. Wasn't quite enough of a run. Has to slip back in behind.
Yeah, that crossbow looks really stable right now. He's got great balance.
Maybe take another look at what happened to Ray Mason in the Compass Racing McLaren.
That is a lucky escape for everyone.
Yeah.
Including the cars that were following there.
Particularly the 14, one of the points leaders.
Yeah, he didn't drop a wheel, but maybe he just pinched his steering input a little bit. Didn't want to run track out wide, and that will get you in trouble. That is a lucky break to escape major damage there in a very fast part of this racetrack. You have consequences when you make a mistake at this racetrack, that is for sure. Algahanian looking to the inside, tough to pass there. Just going to compromise his speed now on the front straightaway. Give Krantz enough of a buffer when they get to the brake zone.
Yeah, when you don't have the legs down the straight, the one thing you don't want to do is, you said, compromise your speed in that downhill turn. I think you'd want to back off a little bit and really build up a head of steam.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just experience there. He may be just probing and seeing where he can make some moves. It's going to be a big day for young Nikolai, 24-year-old. His profession is in architectural design, and certainly put a nice design on this racetrack. this weekend.
He's impressive, absolutely.
Great little battle here. Mueller and Nat Travis.
Yeah, Travis in the NOLA Sport Porsche Grand Cayman. He is working over Mueller right now. That's the Epic Motorsports BMW M4 GT4.
Like the stewards are comfortable leaving that piece of debris out there and recognizing that all of the drivers will have seen it by now. The key is when you do your driver change,
yes,
make sure that message is being relayed to anyone going out on the racetrack for the first time. Again, those pit stops, the mandatory pit stop at least has to happen between the 25 and 35-minute mark of this 60-minute race.
Travis looking to the outside. Is Mueller protected? It's difficult to get that done unless you're much farther along the outside as you head into Big Bend. You can do it.
This really typifies working someone over around this racetrack, Greg.
Exactly.
It can sometimes take you 3 or 4 corners to get the job done.
It's that game of chess we talk about. You got to plan things out just a little bit. Good little scrap here. 7th overall is the battle. Mike Hedlund right now. And we are going full course caution now for that bit of debris on the track, is what we understand. Just talking about Mr. Hedlund having a good run in the Flying Lizard Audi, the number 45, sitting 7th overall. He's got Pro-Am driver Harry Gottsacker, who's an AM category driver, but sits right behind him. And then the 74 of Lewis and Robinson. Well, for those that were a little concerned about tires, this caution might just help out just a little bit. Take a look and see. It came off of
One of the Camaros, remember, there was that contact down
Yep.
in turn 1, so one of the Black Dog Speed Shop Camaros has lost either a side skirt or a little piece of the splitter front end. I'm not sure what came off the race car.
I think it was the number 1, just by the yellow highlights on that car. Let's get down to Pilar, check in, and find out what the team is thinking in that Marco Polo pit.
I did get a chance to speak to the guys here at Marco Polo who are all on pins and needles with this race. They said there haven't been any changes made to the car. All the slipping and sliding right now is just the tires getting up to temperature. So they're anticipating that all the slipping and sliding will come to an end pretty soon.
I think we've seen that already once we got through the first 3 or 4 laps. And they're short laps here, so sometimes you think, oh, should be a lap or two. Well, a line rock can sometimes be 4 or 5 laps relating to the time on the clock before you get that tire temperature. And again, very different day, a lot cooler track conditions. And that's really where the experience comes in, and knowing how to adjust those starting pressures to accommodate a cooler racetrack compared to what you've run on all weekend long.
Top 3 continue to be AM category cars. Moritz Krantz in the 21 H&R Special Springs Mueller Porsche, then El Gahanian in the Marco Polo Crossbow, then Stavely in the Ginetta from Ian Lacey Racing. Still 4th, first in Pro-Am, Patrick Gallagher in the number 55 PF Racing Mustang. And it is Mueller in the Epic BMW, sitting in the 5th spot, 4th in AM. Then it is the 47 of Travis, who sits 2nd in the Pro-Am category in the NOLA Sport Porsche. Harry Gottsacker, 3rd in Pro-Am in the Racer's Edge Sin R1. And then Lewis, and then Jensen sits 5th in the AM category, and the 33 of Mr. Ward is next up in the Pro-Am category. We're anticipating, didn't take long to clean that up, Cal. We're going to be going green this time by. The Wards, by the way, in the Windward Racing Mercedes AMG GT4. Great to have them as part of the program. They're having a good run right now, sitting 5th in class, 10th overall.
Okay, nice little chance to reset here. You felt the racetrack out. Different balance probably to what you've experienced all weekend long. And now, just get ready to go.
Lights out, the BMW M4 CS opens up that little bit of a lead. When he does so, it's up to the leading car to maintain pace car speed till you get into the acceleration zone, which is basically when you drop into the downhill, isn't it?
It is. And looking at the lap times, those front 2. Oh, 17 car. Raphael has to take evasive action there, stack up there into West Bend. He spun it around. Go green.
Green flag flies. They were confident he was going to be able to get it turned around, and look at the jump Krantz got over El Gahanian. And I think, as you pointed out, Cal, this is all brand new to this young man, and that's just another thing to learn.
That's right. Put it in the memory bank and just try and judge that a little bit better next time. But he's doing an excellent job. Really impressive run here today. The car looks balanced. They've got a great setup on the car, so hats off to that whole team. It's Mullerized.
It has indeed. They're trying to Mullerize the field. Up through that climbing turn, carries so much speed up over the rise.
Raphael has obviously got turned around and back underway, which is good news. Such a massive field. Everyone's stacked up there and caught out a few drivers in getting ready for the green. Looking at the lap times, those front two have had about a half-second advantage over the rest of the field. Fastest lap of the day, which sets the grid. And pole position for race 2 here a little bit later in the afternoon is by El Gahanian. 54.34 compared to a 54.36 by Krantz. Most of the chasers about 4 to 5 tenths slower than that.
Well, right before that caution, those two had been able to open up a bit of a margin over the rest of the field. Stavely had his eyes backwards watching Gallagher, and we take a look here at the 74 Shane Lewis. That is the Robinson Racing 74 Ranch Mercedes AMG. Watch for him coming up the hill, as he is doing everything he can right now to try and figure out a way to get by that red prototype-looking Sin R1 GT4 from the Racer's Edge team.
Sin's got a little bit more power allowance since the last round of the championship. Probably John Meraki at Racer's Edge, he just said we need 45%. They've essentially controlled that, Greg, in terms of the throttle opening. They can do it electronically, and we need 45% compared to the 43 range we've been running, and that gets us in our sweet spot where we compete with some of the other fine GT4 machinery here.
There's a lot of different ways that BOP is applied in a series these days, isn't it? It's not just the old power and weight thing.
Yeah, a lot of electronics, which makes it an easy change for the teams sometimes to do that. And look at that. The ST Racing BMW is a little bit wide through Big Bend. Andy Pilgrim, there you see the damage to the side skirt there with the contact down in Big Bend. So that may be affecting the handling a little bit, and he's being chased hard right now by George Kurtz, our 2017 GTS-A champion. Got Colin Brown, who's led some of the practice sessions here this weekend. He's going to be teaming up with here today.
Colin has been incredibly quick in that car, and you see it's the second of the Black Dog GT4 Camaros in the hands of the 11 of Tony Gaples, just a couple of cars back of the team car. You would think, that little damage to that side skirt, this is such a short track, 1.5 miles in length, will it affect? It's such a momentum, high-speed track that if there's any aero advantage from it, you bet it'll affect it.
Yeah, for sure. And talking to Andy and Lawson this morning when they were just walking into the circuit, I said, what's the deal? He said, this part of the circuit is where they really get hurt. The corners aren't fast enough, like we saw CTMP where Lawson dominated just last weekend with that race car. This racetrack not quite in their sweet spot. You get to this corner and the downhill, they're okay, but through that back section, through Big Bend, and through the left-hander and the right-hander, they seem to struggle for grip.
Well, when you don't have quite the speed to get into the aero and you're one of the heavier cars out there, that's where it will obviously take a toll. And the concern obviously is deeper into the stint, what kind of toll it's going to take on the tires. Gallagher goes by, they've got a little bit of a margin built up. Now back to this battle. Mueller in the number 3 BMW, still got the 47 of Matt Travis right there. And now Harry Gottsacker in the 69 seems to have ramped up the attack a little bit on the back of Matt Travis. Matt was in the middle of far more scrappy battles than this in the touring car races that he was involved in on Saturday, so I'm sure he's pretty comfortable right now.
Yeah, he's been very much a man on form here this weekend, and his confidence is high. Gottsacker, though, that's Sin. Yeah. What a cool-looking race car. It's a great team. Racer's Edge really do a fine job. To John Meraki, said, I think we're going to campaign this car next year as well. When they make a decision on a manufacturer, they like to stick with it for 3 to 4 years, as long as it stays competitive, which it certainly has.
And up front, Nikolai Elgahanian starting to look a little racy now, looking down the inside of Moritz Krantz, down into Big Bend. Krantz covered it, but that battle is shaping up, and now Stavely has been able to sneak away from Gallagher, and he's running some pretty quick laps. Faster than the 2 leaders. He's trying to get up, make this a 3-car battle, Cal.
Yeah, he is. Really quick driver, Drew. Great team in Lacey Racing. And again, Elgahanian and Stavely, they're going to be staying in their car, so there's the option in GTS to do the driver change, or you can do the whole event solo. You still have to sit still essentially for 45 seconds on pit lane.
One thing, watching that camera shot coming at you as they come up and over the uphill, Stavely seems to be able to be running these laps and not use quite as much track as these others. That often is a signal that there's a little bit more in that car yet.
Yeah, for sure. As we see them sort of crest the hill, I'm not sure if he's kind of pulled it away from the edge of the road or if he's just running that line all the way up the hill. But even so, this is a race car that seems to work really well. Great handling. Really seems to have a good consistent performance, Greg. It's not really track dependent. We see some of the manufacturers. See the 2 car there. Jason Bell was involved in that earlier incident down in Big Bend. Back out on the racetrack.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jason. Big change for him this weekend as he is now running under the GMG awning, and very pleased about that. You consider where the number 14 is in the points.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big change. Made that switch since the last round of the championship. And Jason Bell owns 2 race cars. One he's actually loaned out to Mark Clennon, who had that big incident following a beautiful win on the first day at CTMP, then had a major crash in turn 3. Couldn't get the McLaren rebuilt. They've actually got a new car that should arrive on Friday, but in the meantime, he's taken over one of Jason Bell's Audis for this weekend.
Okay, he looked for a minute like he might float a little bit wide there, but boy, that crossbow just sticks. But Stavely has caught him, and now Elgahanian is under pressure, and he floats a little wide there, Cal.
Yeah, looking at Stavely, you're right. He just runs that middle of the road up the hill, which you would think if you attack the corner a little bit harder, maybe you could gain a little bit more speed, but use a bit more road and run on a bigger radius through there.
Yeah, right now he looks very tidy, tends to be a good word, and just completely under control. You can see the gray PF Racing Mustang right there come into view of Patrick Gallagher now, a little over a second back.
But he's running slightly faster lap times right now than the front 3, so they may be compromising their lap times by, you know, being defensive with their driving lines, and Gallagher's got clean air and running down some good lap times.
And unlike the GT version of Sprint X now, where you've got the mandatory tire change, in this one, you've still got to take care of your tires because you've got to turn that car over to a co-driver, or if you're doing it solo after the pit stop, finish the race out on the same set. So a little bit different dynamic. And obviously the guys at PF Racing, when you think of Patrick Gallagher, certainly Jade Buford, and let's not forget the fact that Scott Maxwell is a big player on that team as well. They've got pretty good handle on how to do that, I think.
Yeah, they do. And Patrick Gallagher drove a similar car to this at Mid-Ohio recently with great effect. Led a race there for a number of laps. Just got pipped at the line by Carl Marcelli, who's competing here as well with Ori Fidani in a Porsche this weekend. But he knows the car well. He's a top performer. Master Scholarship winner. Always quick in whatever he jumps in.
Yeah, big margin now between Gallagher sitting in the 4th spot overall and Travis in 5th, leading this little battle almost 5 seconds. And Travis has found a little bit of room as he has found a way around Mueller and picked up now that 5th overall spot, 2nd in the Pro-Am category.
Fastnack is having a nice run here. Got new sponsorship on board with Fuji.
Very excited about that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Great technology that they have, and Matt's very excited to have them on board for both of his race programs.
It's called an innovative experiential marketing platform, and it is exactly that. You do a little Googling on it, and it's pretty cool what they are doing. And he's right now got a good run going. Matt does.
Oh, Mueller there, really out of shape.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately, Harry couldn't quite time the run there to take advantage of that. He's a bit too close to him, stacked right on him, and had to adjust his speed to Mueller's. Looks like the tires may just be going away from Mueller a little bit.
Well, and that little wiggle by Mueller has allowed Travis to stretch that lead just a little bit as it bottles up. Gottsacker behind and Fosnot as he comes down the hill. Big slide there in that number 34 Murillo Racing Mercedes-AMG GT4. Got a little bit of a run, look to the inside. Not quite enough.
3 laps or so before this pit stop window opens up. 23 minutes on the board right now, 37 to go. And then a game of strategy with such a short lap here by pitting with a pit lane delta of 62 seconds, you're going to go down a lap. So which end of it do you take? Do you gamble and hope there's a yellow where you might have an advantage by pitting under a yellow during this pit stop window? Do you just want clear pit lane? Come in with no one else around you so you can just execute the pit stop to close to that timeline as you can get it.
Sometimes when they're getting ready for these stops, they'll look at, if we get the stop done, can we come out with some clear track? But with this many cars on, you're not going to have clear track for long either way, are you?
No, that's for certain. You've pretty much got everyone filling up every inch of this racetrack. 31 car field, around 1.5 miles as Fastnack makes a nice move there on Gottsacker.
I think Harry may have been held up just a little bit by the number 3 of Milner coming through the diving turn.
Had a Harry moment.
He did indeed. Matt figured out a way to get through. Now he's going to start the attack on Mueller.
Yeah, Mueller's just really not able to keep that BMW on line through the left-hander and the right-hander on a no-name, and that's costing him time and affecting the pace behind. Look at that, how close do you like it? Wow, that was almost contact there at the uphill. When the car gets really neat, really light, Matt Fastnack did a great job of not running into the back of that BMW. It was awfully close.
Yeah, I thought he was going to tap him, and in that spot, that could be huge. And somehow he was able to get it slowed down just enough. Now, Fastnack looks to the inside. Can he get it done down into 3? He does.
He is on the attack right now.
Floats a little wide. Here comes the over-under.
Gives each other enough racing room. That was great stuff. Great little battle going on right here. I think the Mercedes right now is a little bit quicker. He could be able to take off right now. Lewis looking on in another Mercedes at the back of this pack.
And right behind him is the 32, the other NOLA Sport Porsche. Jensen, as the pit window is now open, Cal. 10-minute window. Closes with 25 minutes left to go. And the key is you just have to be past the pit-in timing line before that 25-minute mark hits, right?
Yeah, last year there was a flag and they wanted the leader to be the first person to have the opportunity to pit. As we see some guys taking that opportunity. Now, typically, it's a Pro-Am race, and the Am had to qualify and start this race. You want to get your Pro in early, because theoretically, at least, they should run slightly better lap times, but there's a real strategy in terms of whether you catch a yellow. If you catch a yellow and do your pit stop then, you're not going to lose as much time to the guys out on the racetrack who are running at a lower speed behind the pace car. But everyone's got a different way of cutting this pie up. Let's see how it plays out.
Fastnack up the hill. He's got the number 62 of Clennon, the premier copier entry. Now in between himself and the number 3 of Mueller. Gives him a little bit of breathing room. In comes second place, El Gahanian in the crossbow from Marco Polo Motorsports.
This is their race right here, Greg. They have to execute this. This could be a big day for El Gahanian and that whole Marco Polo team. Just do not mess up this pit stop. Don't cut it too tight, but don't give too much away.
The key is don't cut it too tight. If you're under 62 seconds, and it doesn't matter by how much, it is a drive-through penalty.
Drew Stavely there, 67 seconds. That's given too much away, I think. Giving up 5 seconds there. We see some 63-second stops on the board right now. What will El Gahanian come out with? He needs to beat 67, otherwise Stavely's going to leapfrog him.
Number 17, Rafael, who had that spin on the yellow, taking advantage of the stop. Down the hill comes the 55. Here comes El Gahanian. Boy, he was really crawling. I think I think he's going to...
Oh, boy, that was close. Talk about execution, 62.6. They must have had a clock in, talking him through this to slow him down a little bit right before he cut that timing line. Perfect execution. This should put him in great shape.
Yeah, and it sure looked to me as he was trundling down pit lane toward the exit, he suddenly checked up a little bit, and that was just enough. Boy, I tell you, for a first-time team in this championship, they are so far mighty impressive, not just in terms of speed, Cal, but execution.
Yeah, very much so. Now it's down to the Mueller Motorsports boys to see what they can do. They've got a driver change they've got to get accomplished as well. Essentially, the car should be sitting still for about 45 seconds, so providing the driver change goes smoothly, it should not be a big deal. 6-7 minutes left on the clock to make that pit stop.
Well, Gallagher and Buford got theirs done at 62.5. So that stop by the Marco Polo team was crucial. You see that Gallagher now driven, started by Gallagher, I should say, now with Jade Buford behind the wheel, got them out in front.
Roscoe has the track position on the 55 right now, but it was very close.
Obviously, they're keeping Krantz out for a while in the 21.
The key there is going to be who hits the traffic. Is Krantz the leader getting the traffic? Looks like these guys who have made that pit stop have found a really nice opening in terms of clean air. Look at that. That is exactly what you want when you come out of the pit lane, be able to run your lap times and just hope that the leader's hitting traffic prior to that pit stop.
In goes the 32 Nolo Sport Porsche of Jensen. Number 92, Grahovic. And Chris Omax.
We've got 5 cars yet to hit pit lane, one of those being the leader. 21, 31, 51, 04, and 24 yet to hit pit lane.
Shelby Blackstock taking over in the number 40. They too had a fairly decent stop after James Pesic turned it over.
Some tire pressure adjustments or checking going on right now. Cannot do any tire changes unless there's damage to a tire. Those are the regulations for GTS. Very different to GT, which we'll see here in about an hour or so. Or is it, this is one of those moments when you're making strategy and you see a car off the racetrack within this pit stop window. You're just hoping, depending on which side of the coin you are, whether there's a full course yellow or not. I know for the stewards, they like to stay out of the game and just try and escape through this 10-minute window without having to make that decision in terms of whether we go full course or not. Krantz, our leader, the only driver yet to hit pit lane, and he's still got time on the board to do it.
Ooh. That tap there, Keegan getting into him.
Because he and James behind the
James,
wheel
they
now.
did their stop.
Did their stop, so.
Okay.
Ian coming off a brilliant performance at CTMP, but for contact with James Safronis, he got a penalty in terms of giving the position back. Didn't make him drive down pit lane, but he had to drop back 3 positions to give up that podium run that day.
There's the number 14, James Safronis, running right at the sharp end of the championships right now.
At the sharp end of this field right now, he's buried in the 17th position.
Is that another off by the 19
so. It's
of
a
Burton?
different one, yeah.
Once you junk up those tires, and with it being damp, the grass, if you don't be mindful of that, it can catch you out again, as it may have just done.
Krantz still staying out there.
Well, he's got El Kahanian right behind him, and this is not what that young man wants with a guy named Buford moving in the mirrors.
Oh, that's for sure. Just got to time it. Just got to give yourself enough of a gap to get through that final right hand of the downhill onto this front straightaway and not stymie your speed. There's our leader, Krantz, from Mueller Motorsports, keeping that Porsche out front.
Well,
very impressive performance by that team this year.
Yeah,
very,
it has
very
been.
strong.
It has been. They so good with endurance racing and their knowledge of running over in the VLN championship and the like. But boy, they are pushing the envelope and getting this stop done, Cal. They've got about 2.5 minutes. So.
Yeah, could probably go another couple of laps actually, but you don't want to cut it too tight. That's another thing that's come up in conversation. conversation this week in terms of if there is a yellow at the very end and it slows your ability to get back to the pit lane and get inside of that 35-minute window, what happens?
Yeah, these strategists, they take a rule like that and they look at it and they, well, yeah, but what if? And everybody has been chatting about it. There's been a couple of ideas that have been proffered.
He could literally do 2 more laps, Greg, and still just a bit in time.
Well, you look at the times. I mean, he's mid-55s, high 55s.
I wouldn't cut it within a lap, though, because, if the driver has a spin or something, has a slow last lap, and you're down to like the last 10 seconds, you can't afford anything to go wrong there, and I don't see the big advantage in stretching it that far.
Well, Pilar, you're down in the Mueller Motorsports USA pits. What are they saying?
Yeah, I just talked to Castro, and he said the second that they can next, they're going to pit. He's going to jump in the car. They had a really good start, and he's just going to go right after the 71 car and bring it home.
All right, it looks like it's going to happen now, Cal.
Yeah, I think that's wise.
Yep.
Don't cut it too close. If anything goes wrong, any kind of issue, you miss that 35-minute mark, that's a huge penalty to play.
Here comes the change. Some of these cars don't quite have enough in the fuel cell capacity to get to the full 60 minutes. So in GTS, there's a couple of the cars that are allowed to just do a little top off like that. Krantz out, and Elfin Castro now in and behind the wheel.
I think there could be a strategy there as well. In fact, if you were good on fuel, but you're allowed to refuel, that makes the car a little bit lighter. You could sort of like start the car at 5 gallons lighter.
That does open up a little, and any opportunity that you could take advantage of, you're going to.
Weight is speed, so 5 gallons of fuel, probably about 40 pounds.
Yeah, makes a difference. Great opening stint by Krantz.
Really good. Let's see how they cycle out, though. Fall down pit lane, and we're going to be looking for El Gahanian. Everyone now has completed their pit stop. Where does this Mueller Motorsports Porsche come out compared to our leader? There he is. That is that close. And there is Buford.
So
the Mueller Motorsports Porsche comes out in 3rd position with the leaders right in front of him. Game on again.
And I think a big thing for him was he was able to stay in front of Shelby Blackstock in that multicolored number 40. That is another PF Racing entry, and he didn't want to get stuck behind him. And interesting here that El Gahanian has not yet been able to get back around on the 19, Cal.
Yeah, that is really important. But he's got to stay cool. Buford's going to put the pressure on, and as we talked about with that sort of muscle car, it's hanging on quite well. And this is not good news for Castro, as Blackstock has got around him.
Oh man, yes, that's bad. And on top of it, you take a look at the stop time, Cal, it was 66 seconds. They gave up 4 seconds in that stop. That's the margin we're looking at.
That would have given him the lead. That was that tight when they came down into turn 1 with the 21 car coming out of pit lane and the leaders approaching. If they'd cut that a little bit closer or executed a bit better, Castro would have had the track position, but right now he's just trying to find his rhythm. I don't think he quite has the pace of Krantz, his teammates. We'll have to see how he stacks up here once he gets back and gets into the groove.
If you're wondering why Jeff Burton was fighting so hard not to let El Gahanian through, if he could stay on that lead lap and there's a caution, he comes back around. But finally, El Gahanian was able to find a way through. Buford not going to put up with it too much longer. Well, I don't know that Burton realized Buford was even thinking about that, Cal. Sure was aggressive in shutting that door.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the pit stops here today, and I think Burton's going to be get a penalty. He seems to be the only one, other than cars that were in for damage early in the race. Burton was at 60 seconds, 60.2, so I've got a feeling he's going to get a penalty for that. I think that's his mandatory stop, what I'm looking at of all of the stops so far.
And if so, that would be a drive-through.
Drive-through cost you about 17 seconds here. Not as penalizing as some other circuits with a much longer pit lane, and you're just slowing down to that 35 mile/hour speed limit compared to cars out on the racetrack running at flat out speed. Wow, what a sound that is.
That's something. Just get a little light, spin it just up a little bit here. Margin last time for El Gahanian was almost 2 seconds clear of Buford.
And importantly, when the tires are probably at their best at the beginning of the race, even though the cars get a little bit lighter as they burn the fuel off. 54.341 is the fastest lap of the day by our current leader.
Boy, and it took Buford a little bit to get around the 19 of Burton. It cost him that margin up to over 3 seconds. Now Callis Stavely is attacking on Castro. That is for third overall.
Battle for position right here. Neither one of these teams had great pit stops, 66, 67 second range. They gave up 4 to 5 seconds to the Marco Polo team.
The attack on that number 21 entry of Castro. Stavely's going to look to the inside here into the uphill. Very difficult to get it done there. And Pilar, I understand you found Moritz Kranz, who has put in a great opening stint.
Yes, I am here with Moritz, who had a phenomenal start, had a great race. Moritz, tell us how the track felt, how the car's feeling, and do you think Efron's going to be able to get the lead back?
Yeah, so the first stint was very good. The car felt very great, very good. And for me, it's new with the Pirelli tires, so I'm still learning, but it's a really good tire, so I could push the whole stint. And the team did a great job so far at the moment, P3, I think. But I'm hoping that we get back. We'll see.
Good luck.
Well, during that interview, I think we just saw the start of it right as we went to the interview. I think in West Bend, Stavely got underneath and was able to sneak through.
Yeah, he did. So 21 car down to fourth and now under pressure again. Hart and Shimshak right behind him.
And we know Matt Fastnot is fast. We know Christian Shimshak is quick as well. Used to call him Super Sub in a different series.
Wow,
and
what a run he got there. Hart defends as he goes to the inside of the 21. Shimshak goes with him.
Well, once you get forced off line into Big Bend or West Bend over there, it is so tough to get the nose pointed back in time, and I think Gottsacker's going to get a run too.
Yeah, it's all about momentum around this racetrack. Once you lose it, it's hard to really get that speed back up again. Kind of snowballs on you, and everyone just takes advantage of a sitting duck there for a couple of corners.
Alfred didn't just get out of the way for him, made it tough, but Gottsacker able to slide through. And obviously when you've got a scenario when the driver's staying in the car, you've got a little bit more immediate knowledge. You know what the tires were like for yourself. You know what the track's been doing. And obviously when you've got a driver that's going to be replacing you, I would think as much as you can on a very busy track like this, you are talking and that driver's on a radio listening to what that car's been doing, what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, even before you get in the car, maybe you get on the radio, what's the car doing compared to Saturday or Friday when we were last driving this machine, and give as much feedback as you can. It's a quick lap around here, though, and it just really flows. So there's probably minimal adjustments that you can make. But even so, any piece of information can be critical. But I think there's a big advantage in terms of staying in the race car. You're in a rhythm immediately versus anyone. I don't think even the best in the business takes a few corners or a lap to really get into their groove.
A couple of cars way off to drivers right there, and a heck of a scrap. That looks like Ian James.
Yeah, he's making some moves right behind him as Sofronis, the championship leader. He and Alex Welsh. Sofronis made some moves. He's up to the 11th position, so from starting back in 16th. They've gained 5 spots on this race so far. They'll be looking for a lot more. Haven't heard any word on any penalty for Ian James without contact with Burton. Maybe he's got the all clear.
Meanwhile, right behind now, the 32 at Jensen that Ian just snuck through on is the 14 in the hands of Sofronis, and obviously still outside of the top 10 overall, which is strange enough, Cal, but it's really important in terms of points.
Yes, for sure. We are getting confirmation drive-through penalty for that car number 19 for pit stop infraction. So everyone other than the 19 are outside of that 60-second delta that you had to achieve. They cut it a bit too tight. He's got to drive down pit lane.
Well, this should be a good scrap. Shane Lewis in that Mercedes AMG GT4 being attacked. Gar Robinson, excuse me, in that car. He's taken over for Shane. And Ian James, who's been in this Panos for a couple of years now. And Gar, this is a brand new program for him.
Yeah, and he gained a lot of confidence. Had a brilliant race weekend just a few days ago, literally up at CTMP. But Ian James looks to the inside. Gar's not going to give it to him. Running the high groove there around the cushion. Great battle going on here. Gar Robinson finished second. just 8 days ago up at CTMP and has given him a lot of confidence as he now adjusts from a Trans Am machine to this GT4 car.
That was his first time at CTMP. Was impressively fast in the wet, and I asked you about it, and you said, hey, he just doesn't know any better yet.
He turns off all the TC and everything. He just, as Ian now dives to the inside, Gar doesn't give it to him, just showing that he's a strong, hard racer. Now he gets a little bit wide. Can he hang in there? Can he get the grip to be side by side as they get to the left-hander? As we said, Greg, you really have to work someone over around this racetrack. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 corners. That's what we're seeing exactly now. James to the inside. What a battle. This is awesome.
And tremendous respect as well, Cal. They both gave each other racing room, still giving each other room. This uphill should be fascinating. You get too far outside, car had to give it up.
Wow, that took 5 corners to make that happen. Brilliant.
When you get 2 guys at this,
big one.
Christian Shimshak in the Mercedes from Murillo Racing.
Was that Aurora Strauss involved?
I think it was. 36.
Yep.
That's from ST Racing.
Our championship AM leader, Aurora Strauss, been very impressive this year.
Sure has.
That Mercedes, though, looked like that had a big impact.
We are full course caution, as you point out. So that big 3.5-second margin at the front, El Gahanian had over Buford will evaporate. Another big chunk from Buford back to Stavely. We're at just under 16 minutes left.
Yeah, this is in the downhill, fastest part of the racetrack, essentially corner-wise. And if you have an incident down there, it's typically a big one.
Yes.
So Ray Mason get away with a spin a little bit earlier in the going, but obviously big contact.
And one of 2 things happen. If it happens early enough, you just tend to spin and spear off to the outside. If it happens down near the exit, oftentimes you drop and hook back across, but you're just carrying so much speed through that section of track, regardless of what happens. Unless you're lucky like Ray Mason, it could be a biggie. So it's El Gahanian leading overall, and he is your AM class leader. Pro-Am is second overall, right now led in class by Jade Buford. Then Drew Stavely, third overall, second in the AM category. Jason Hart, fourth overall, second in the Pro-Am category. Harry Gottsacker, third in Pro-Am, fifth overall. And Elfrin Castro right now sits sixth overall, third in the AM category in the that car right there, the Milner Motorsports USA H&R Special Springs Porsche.
Getting back to our storylines about the 55 car having a strong day. We anticipated with these cooler conditions the Mustang would be good. They're running second. Our championship contenders who are buried in the pack. Sophonis has got that 14 GMG Audi up to 10th position. And Aschenbach, after the early drama for his teammate Andy Pilgrim, now up to the 14th spot. And this stack up will certainly help both of those drivers maybe make a few more positions before the checkered flag.
And the thing of concern when we talk about this for, say, Sophonis, he is sixth in Pro-Am, but he's 10th overall, and you get overall points when you're running in the Pro-Am category. And so he's not looking at getting 6th place points. And same for Aschenbach. He's 10th in Pro-Am, but he'll get 14th place points. So that is a huge swing of potential anyway here for them at this stage. I know we've had a full course caution call, but these cars are still wheeling around here at some speed, aren't they?
Yeah, they're hustling.
Just a matter of trying to catch the pace car here.
There it is.
There it is. Again, the BMW M4 CS with a special color for this weekend, I understand.
Lime rock gray. There's Aurora, hands on her hip.
Yeah.
There's Shimshak.
That's the best news. Let's take a look at what may have happened here. I think we've got it queued up and ready to go.
47 car dives to the inside. Shimshak tries to go, and that's a tough corner.
Yeah.
I mean, incidents will happen like that, just racing incidents. Essentially, Aurora let the 47 car through. She can't just drive off the racetrack, and there just wasn't enough room right at apex, the critical point for both cars to survive. think Shimshak probably would like a redo on that one.
Yeah, I think so too.
And you see the marbles on the outside. If Aurora gets more offline, it's just going to create problems for herself solo.
That's one of the things we've seen over the years in this turn. If you're going to make a pass in the diving turn, you've got to be inside by the time you start to drop down the hill.
And you're just reacting. I mean, the 47 car went through. You're trying to read the dynamic of the situation, so I'm not really putting all of the emphasis on Shimshak there in terms of responsibility. It's just one of those racing incidents. But again, if you knew it was going to happen that way, you'd probably go and check up your speed a little bit and wait for the straightaway to clear the BMW.
Well, and while we were under this full course caution and the BMW M4CS is out and the field is now under control, obviously this caution is going to go for just a little bit. We talked a little bit at the top of the show that in this number 55 PF Racing Mustang all season long it has been Scott Maxwell, but unfortunately had an issue develop in the family and he is not able to be here this weekend. Here's a little bit more on that.
George Maxwell, Scott's father, who unfortunately passed away this week on Thursday, May 24th. Professional school teacher, but his passion was race cars. Started a business called Mini Grid in the 70s. Very successful model cars, but he loved being at the racetrack following his son Scott, and in recent years, his young grandson as well. And our thoughts go out to Scott, the Maxwell family, and all of the friends of George during a very emotional time.
Yeah, that Datsun that he ran is a bit of legend, certainly, and obviously you saw him there with no less than Sterling Moss. Let's get down for a little bit more on this with Pilar.
Yes, guys, I'm here with Patrick Gallagher with PF Racing. Patrick, you guys are having a great race. What was the strategy to get Buford in the car and now get him so close to the lead?
Yeah, I just kind of hung there in second for the first half of the stint, trying to give him some tire here at the end. And we had a good pit stop, and I think jumped 2 cars on the pit stop cycle and got that little KTM. It's fast, it's light, but we got Jade in the car, and he's going to do a good job. We're going to try and go get him here. Just want to say happy to be here with PF Racing. Thinking of my buddy Scott Maxwell at home. I'm subbing for him. So hopefully we can get it done for him here.
Thanks so much, Patrick.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's a class act, Patrick is, and he goes to a certain university in Ohio, and I referred to it as just Ohio State once, and he corrected me and said, no, that's the Ohio State. So now I always, to make it up to him, I refer to him as the Patrick Gallagher. And he did exactly what he needed to do, handed off a car that obviously is very quick to Jade Buford. And, looks like we might be able to get back to some green flag, and this is made to order for the tires on that Mustang. Yeah,
a little bit of a reset, cooling off period, and very important fact there that Patrick talked about is giving his teammates some tires. So often the ego gets in the way of the starting driver in terms of just really wringing the car's neck and doing as fast as laps as he can or she can, and then you turn over your teammate halfway through with no tire change allowed here in GTS competition, and they've got nothing to attack or defend with.
Now we're going to be cautioned at least another lap. Want to remind you that you can follow all the news with the Pirelli World Challenge by downloading the new Fan app. Go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and search for the PWC Fan app and get in deep in terms of what you can learn. And, of course, you can also follow along on many other social media platforms. On Facebook, just search for PWC Championship. On Twitter, just search for @WC Racing. And on Instagram, 2 ways to look, hashtag Pirelli WC or hashtag Pirelli World Challenge. And as always, for all things Pirelli World Challenge, go online to the series website at world-challenge.com. With this evolution this year, bringing in this full GTS or GTS Sprint X format, this series now pretty much matches in many ways what's going on in GT, and it has been popular, Cal. I mean, the size of the fields we've had all year long, this GT4 platform globally is just exploding.
It really is. I think in terms of not getting specific on the numbers, but it's a sweet spot in the operating budgets for these cars versus the GT machinery, which is obviously a lot more expensive, and we can see how popular it is. And with the Sprint X competition, I like it. You can share the car, share the cost for some of the amateur drivers who are not pros in terms of bringing the budget to the table. So it really seems to work. We've got massive fields, and I think they'll continue to grow for 2019.
And I think it's also was a wise call that for if you're an AM driver, driver in this GTS category. If you still want to do it solo, you can.
You can. If you have the resources to be able to not share the car and share the cost, then you're not compromising your seat time. And for certain drivers who are trying to learn the trade, that's what it's all about. And extending it from a sprint race format of 50 minutes up to 60. And there's talk about even going a little bit further with the timeline next year, all in discussion right now. But it's all about tweaking it, listen to the customer, and that's what Pirelli World Challenge does very well.
Absolutely. And as you see, the cleanup looks like it's getting near complete. They're just affecting a little bit of a realignment of that banded barrier down there. And as we're watching this, Cal, let's go back one more time, take a look at the incident that occurred heading down the diving.
You can see here the 47 car get inside of Aurora. She's out there early there in the marbles. And Shimshak just tries to get through, and they just can't clear each other right at apex. You see the contact there. Mercedes gets up on its two wheels a little bit. And just a high-speed corner. When someone's got down to your inside, if you try and make any more room there, there's a good chance you're just going to drive off the racetrack by yourself. So I think it's just a racing incident. It's just unfortunate that there was a stack up there and Aurora had nowhere to go.
And at the very moment of contact, right as you saw the orange Mercedes jump up into the air, you saw the wheels on her BMW, the front wheels just suddenly straighten out. And just that contact, I mean, there's nothing she could do about it, just knocked the wheel right out of her hand.
Couldn't see if Shimshak was up on the curb at the same time, which kind of bounces you across a few inches, and that may be in the critical part.
All right, caution continues. 6 minutes to go. But it looks like the cleanup is almost done. We just get word from race control. They're going to wave by all the lap cars, get them out of the queue. So when we go back to green, we go racing. I would think Shelby Blackstock in the number 40 should be part of that wave through.
Yeah, they'll get this sorted out, and for a young man who's grabbed that pole position and led the majority of this race, Al Kahanian has now got what's going on in that young man's head right now is he's on the verge of his first victory. He's got a very experienced Jake Buford right behind him. Pro driver about to put the pressure on. We see other cars trying to get that wave by done quickly. It's a problem if you got cars doing that warm-up procedure, try to clean their tires up when you're trying to cut your way through there and get back onto this lead lap, or get one of your laps back if you're multiple laps down.
Especially a track, it's narrow here, and you have to just wait. We saw a couple of cars have to check up on the wave around to get through the climbing turn. And for El Gahanian, remember that previous caution on that restart, he didn't really time it that well, and he got dropped just a little bit. And I'm sure he's going to have that in his mind at this stage, and you know the crew's going to be talking to him.
Well, that Mustang has a lot of torque. It doesn't seem to have the really top end. We noticed that CTN Piot's kind of ran out of puff a little bit at the end of the long straightaways, but certainly through on a restart should be very strong. So Buford will certainly be trying to take advantage of that.
And as you'd sort of tip into that diving turn, I mean, driving the crossbow, you'd want to have as much speed as possible built up through that turn. I think you're right, from pace car speeds when they tip in, and Jade can just hammer that, and that thing's just going to keep accelerating, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to turn it into a drag race. I mean, what Al Gahanian needs to do is let that pace car disappear and have a couple of corners to wind up the speed in the crossbow and get on at that front straightaway with good speed.
Behind them, Drew Stavely, don't count him out. That lightweight Janetta is extremely effective. Of course, the issue here is how much heat and therefore pressures have you lost in the tires, and the heavier cars will tend to get that heat, thus the pressures back in place a bit quicker. So that's an issue for El Gahanian and Stavely that they're going to have to deal with on these lighter weight cars. All right. Looks like one more lap at least. But
that's not going to leave a lot of time on the board. We could be green and white at the same time. You're going to eat up a couple of minutes. Typically a pace car lap is twice a racing lap in terms of time. You're going to eat a couple of minutes up here.
we've seen that a couple of times this season in Pirelli World Challenge already, where the green and the white have come out at the same time.
Stavely's got to be thinking big picture as well. He's third in points right now, but Aurora Strauss is obviously out of this race, going to ding her points total at the end of the day, so he can make some big positions here. He can't afford to get too aggressive. Buford, they're having a big day. Sofronis down the pack a little bit. Right now in 10th position is Sofronis, so Buford will jump up in the points as well. So yes, you want to go on the attack, you want to win, but you can't afford to lose sight of the big picture in a championship scenario.
So right now, taking a look, yep, Sofronis is actually sitting back in the 9th spot right now overall, 6th in the Pro-Am category. Yeah, so you definitely have the big picture. And if you're seeing every once in a while, you'll see Preston Calvert's name pop up there. Obviously, maybe he didn't get the wave around quite right, and that'll be obviously cycled and made correct by timing and scoring, but it is definitely Elgahanian that is still on point here. There is a look at the 14 of Sofronis. And then there's the other domino in this whole pattern here. Another domino in this entire pattern here. Obviously, you want to do what you can to get points. You're back in the pack. Anything you can get's good. But there's a race coming up this afternoon again as well. And you want a car to be able to run this afternoon. If you wad it up trying for a 2-point swing here.
Well, I think unfortunately looking at the clock, Craig, I don't think we're going to get back to green flag racing. It's going to take them more than the 50 seconds left on the board to get back to the stripe. So congratulations to Elgahanian. If he can just cruise around on this as we see Preston Calvert dive into the pit lane to try and correct the lap he's gained on the field.
What a story. A surprise pole and then a surprise win, but as we've seen him and that team execute in this race, you know, he hasn't let things get to him too much. He's shown that great speed, and that team absolutely nailed that stop, Kevin.
They really did. Great execution by the whole group there, and for Nikolai, really nice job. I mean, the car took a few laps to get underneath him, but he hung in there and didn't drop too many positions, and then put the pressure on the 21 car.
And there is the crew. I'm sure they're amazingly pleased, but I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't a little surprised themselves with this one. But what a great story. Here we go down the hill. The rookie on the pole up against a field of incredibly talented drivers, and then the team getting the job done in the pit stop. And Nikolai Elgahanian and Marco Polo Motorsports show up in Pirelli World Challenge, pole and win in their first round of the championship. That is impressive stuff. Now, the good news is for Jade Buford and Patrick Gallagher, who was subbing for him, that second overall is a Pro-Am win, and they will be more than happy with that, obviously. Stavely will end up third overall, and that puts him second in the Am category. So they did a great job, but I'll tell you what, you know, Patrick Gallagher stepped in, did an absolutely superb job. And Jade Buford, obviously, with this long caution, he just kind of had to keep it in place.
He did. And looking at fast lap of the race, it goes to Elgahanian, so he'll have pole for race 2. And I believe it's going to be the 21 car. I think Krantz's lap at a similar time in the race will line that number 21 Muehlner Motorsports Porsche on the outside of the front row.
Finishing second in the Pro-Am category is going to be Jason Hart in the Nola Sport Porsche Cayman. So they will be pleased in completing the podium in our respective classes. Harry Gottsacker in the 69 Racer's Edge Sin R1 and the number 21 Elfrin Castro coming home. And that should be for third in the Am category in the Muehlner Motorsports USA H&R Special Springs Porsche. So nice job. And that is the podium. And field heading down en masse into the pits. And obviously a little bit of a calmer ending to this than we would have wanted, to see them get out and go racing, but it certainly, I think, is a good portent of what we're going to see in the second race that'll be unfolding this afternoon. for Nikolai Elgahanian and this sort of Batmobile appearing KTM crossbow. It's always fun to watch the top come off on this one, the way that it opens up like that. And there's some congratulations. What a story.
It's so cool.
It is.
It's so cool. I mean, I saw him this morning about the pole position. He just said, I thought it would be a long time before I was getting nervous and not able to sleep thinking about a pole position run, and now he's got his first victory.
Just incredible. The gloves come off as the helmet comes off. We know that Pilar is down there and waiting to talk to this young man. Not a bad start to a day, Pilar.
Oh my goodness.
Nikolai, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I talked to you earlier. You said you really liked the course. Your car liked the course. How did you handle all that pressure?
Oh my goodness, it was really crazy once the lap cars came around. These guys have so much more power than me. I was really nervous about the restart. And I made the big mistake of going in a little bit too wide on turn one, but the car hung in there and the tires lasted for a really long time, and I was able to keep up with everyone.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate my whole team. John Mueller's out here. He's our main engineer, and the Marco Polo Motorsports team is a huge help for me. Couldn't have done it without my dad. Seriously, this is an amazing feeling. I can't believe it.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the victory.
Thank you so much.
Well, now you know where the Muellerize came from, and boy, did they Muellerize the field today.
They did. I bet on Thursday when they arrived at this racetrack, they weren't thinking of celebrating a victory here just 3 days later. Congratulations. That is a cool story.
Yeah, it's a great story. Take a look here at the unofficial results, and this, of course, is the overall results here. But Elgahanian will win the AM category. The Buford Gallagher, number 55, as you see, second overall, but they win in the Pro-Am category. Drew Stavely, second in the AM category, third overall. Great run for him. Jason Hart and Matt Travis will be in that fourth overall spot, but they'll be third in the Pro category. Now let's get down to our Pro-Am winner, Jade Buford, out of that beautiful Mustang.
Yeah, we're with Jade Buford and Patrick Gallagher. Congratulations, guys. Jade, tell me, what was this track like for you?
You know, it was pretty good. We knew we would have a good car here at Lime Rock. The Mustangs always do very well. We're very good in the fast corners, so you're pretty much always turning here. So we knew our car would be strong. We do wish we had to go at it at the end. We think we might have had a little something for them. It was just a shame the race couldn't get going again.
Congratulations, guys. Great race.
Yeah, it was indeed. Obviously, we talked about Patrick Gallagher coming in, but experience in these types of cars, certainly this season, did exactly what he needed to do and gave Jade Buford a car that was ready to be able to be raced if it needed to be, as it was, a lot of caution, and Jade just brought it home.
Yep, as you would expect, just a polished performance by that whole group there. And I think Jade's right. I think on a restart with the nervousness for Elgahanian on the verge of the first victory, who knows what would have happened down in turn one, and certainly that Mustang has good grunt to maybe take advantage there, but it didn't happen, and they'll do a reset. And a couple of cars we won't see obviously take the green flag here in a few hours for the race two, but pretty good race around this bull ring of a racetrack. Not too much damage.
No, not at all. And that second race, if you're a big GTS fan, you're going to want to make sure you're tuned in to us at no later than 2:15 Eastern time this afternoon here in our global web feed. And we'll be bringing you that coverage as we build our CBS Sports Network show. However, I wouldn't go too far. We're just going to leave our global web stream up. We're going to go quiet for just a little bit. But in not too long, we are going to be queuing up and getting ready for the next round of the Pirelli World Challenge GT Championship. And it is going to be Sprint X from Lime Rock Park. Thanks for joining us here. We'll be back with you in just a little bit.